morning and welcome back to CityLine. I am having one of the best days because Mr. Sean over here, our chef who we're going to talk with in our next segment, Sean Tibbetts, he has his own restaurant and he's been making lobster bomb the whole time that I've been talking with our wonderful guests. And the smell is becoming outrageously good here in the studio. So, Sean, let's talk with you for a second. So show me what's in the bowl that you have your hand on.
This is some fresh lemony hollandaise.
Bring it up. Oh, look at that. Julia Child would be so proud of you.
And I made it right there.
You made it right on that hot pot.
You can make it at home.
We're going to come back to you in just a second here. But with me right now is someone that I just love how consistent and clear you are about what your purpose is in Tacoma. And that is, of course, Mr. Scott Thompson. You are a public information officer for our beloved Sound Transit. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure I can compete with Sean today, though.
Well, actually, you can, because Sean provides great food at his restaurant, but if we can't get to his restaurant, what good is it?
True.
So you provide the wheels that get us to the great food. Just think about it that way. How's that?
Sounds good.
So let's talk about this. I love that you are consistently back in the studio with me because everywhere I go, construction seems to be heating up. And I think about you all the time and think, where is Scott on that timeline and that checklist? So my first question to you is, let's talk about an update, the Hilltop Tacoma Link construction. And then we also have a summer closure that I'm not going to give away where it is, but you're going to talk about that. So give us an update about Hilltop.
Well, you see construction right out front.
I do, these huge blue tubes.
Here. Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work over the last 9 months, relocating sewer lines, water lines, other underground utilities. You know, the roadways, we've got all these utilities buried in the roadways. So we're coming through our new extension. It's going to be in the middle of the road. So we're relocating, we're moving those, we're improving those lines. A lot of those lines have been there for years, decades. So we've been moving a lot of those throughout the roadway, and that's a lot of what you see, the work on Martin Luther King and up and down Stadium Way. But things are progressing really well. So, and I think we're going to have for me, it's a bit of a milestone on the project. This actually starting tomorrow for the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to actually be laying our first segments of track in the road on Stadium Way at the top. We're going to, by the year's end, we're going to be down Stadium Way connecting with the existing line on Commerce. It's a dual track. We're going to be putting in 300-foot segments of track there on Stadium Way. And so that's, I think, a real visible milestone for people to see that this extension is really starting to become a reality.
This is a great map that you're showing here because, I mean, many people like myself are visual, and the first thing I see is closed June 20th to September 4th.
Well, let me tell you the other big thing that's going on. So, you know, we haven't really done any work in front of Stadium High School while school's in session. School ends, Tacoma schools will go on summer break June 20th. So students will be out. So we're going to have to do a lot of work in a short period of time in front of Stadium High School between now and when they start back in September to do all this work. We're going to relocate utilities, and we're going to, put in new. Let me just tell you, because I've got a list. I can't remember all this off the top of my head.
You're allowed to have a list.
We're going to move underground utilities. We'll put in electrical foundations for new power poles, street lighting. We'll have signals there for pedestrian crossings in front of the school. We're going to do track, put in track, redo curb and gutter, and put pavement on the roadway. We're trying to do all this in about a 3-month time window. So
you notice my jaw dropped. Yeah. I'm thinking in 3 months. Wow.
So we're completely closing off that area to traffic. People will still be able to get into any summer activities at the school. We'll have pedestrian access and everything. The one big thing for truck traffic, though, is that trucks larger than 30 feet, we're really asking that they not drive Stadium Way around that area and take 9th Street or Tacoma Avenue. Mm-hmm. Smaller trucks can drive on Stadium Way and turn at Division, but it's going to be really tight for large trucks to get through there. So we're asking them to really use our detour routes or take other alternative routes if they can through that area. But, we're getting out, we're talking with we've been working up in Stadium Way. We've been working with the businesses up there. This is a long process, and it's going to, we move the underground utilities, then we'll come back put track in. Then we're going to start building stations along this. We have 6 new stations going on in this for this new corridor, for this extension. So it's a lot of work, but you're going to start to see some really visible, milestones of that.
Well,
this line is going to really happen.
Scott, let's talk about, it's all over the news. It's above the fold, as we say in the journalistic field. Tacoma, #1 place in the United States for real estate. So if
Right.
we're going to have that moniker, we need to have the transportation and the links to go along with it.
Right.
That's one of the things that goes part and parcel
Right.
with being the grit city where people want to live. Let's talk about the Tacoma Dome, which is extension, which
our
is so
regional light rail
recognizable.
system. Right.
So let's talk about this in
So-
terms of the study going on.
So, we've been out in the public. We've been meeting with folks for about the last 18 months. We started this back in April of 2018.
Yeah.
And we got people around, big maps on the table. Where do you want stations? Where would you like to see the alignment go? So we've done all the study. We have we've had a stakeholder group we've been meeting with of area residents. We have an elected leadership group, which includes people like Mayor Woodard from Tacoma, Pierce County Executive Dan Meyer. We've got Fife Mayor Kim Roscoe, Kent Keel from University City, people from our officials from our board of directors who've been meeting and talking about where do you want to see station play? What's going to be best for your city, for your community to get these stations in this alignment to move the most people? So now, and this has been our map, we've gotten to where we have, in various locations, 3 or 4 different sites for stations, 3 or 4 different alignments. And come in July, we're going to have some recommendations from our elected leadership group to go before our board in July to really say, here's our preferred alternatives for stations and alignments, and we're going to get started a more in-depth environmental study process of these preferred alternatives. And we're doing this, part of our goal with Sound Transit 3 and our system implementation plan was to front load a lot of this decision making at the top so we could take time off to build these projects. It takes a long time to go through these environmental processes, which are a lot of this is federally mandated. We've got to follow
Absolutely.
federal regulations on this and look at the impact on the environment and the businesses and the traffic and the population. So that's another 18-month process. But if we get these preferred alternatives, it gives us, we can really start doing a deeper dive into what the impacts are going to be, what the cost is going to be. And then we'll come back again after that. We'll have another public comment period after that, and then we'll come back and our board will decide, here's where we're going to go, here's where the stations will be, here's where the alignment will be. So it's a very impactful time. We're still going to be engaged with people in the community. The city of Tacoma recently passed a resolution about what they'd like to see.
That's right.
We're getting input from the city of Federal Way, the city of Fife, and all the municipalities that are affected will be a part of this new alignment. But this is really our spine to get from Tacoma to Everett for regional light rail. I mean, if you can imagine getting on a light rail to Tacoma and in 35 minutes being at the airport.
It's
will be
mind-boggling. For someone who's lived here for 25 years, it's mind-boggling for me to even think that could ever be something that Tacoma had to offer. I mean, I remember when the dome was built.
Right.
And now we're talking about getting to the airport in 35 minutes, and I just get to park my car and hop on. That is incredible.
So, we have awarded a design build contractor for the link to get us for the extension to get us from Angle Lake down to Federal Way Transit Center. That's going to open in 2024. Now, that's
Blink of an eye.
That's not that far off when you're thinking in 5 years. We'll start construction on that later this year and really ramp up construction in 2020. But that's around the corner.
It is.
That's
around the
coming.
corner.
And once we get to Federal Way, then we're going to get to Tacoma.
One of the things I love hearing that you keep peppering this conversation with is Sound Transit's dedication to our citizens, to having these public meetings, to checking what these interest groups and these neighborhoods say, going back to the boards, sharing that feedback, and then getting an idea, then going back to another community group and saying, now we have this, what do you think about that? It's so transparent.
Well, and
it's beautiful.
a lot of the other folks we've been involved in is the Puyallup Tribe of Indians.
Yes.
I mean, when we're looking at this alignment, it comes through a lot of tribal land. We've got to figure out how to get this line over the Puyallup River. Where do we build that span?
Right.
How do we build that span and we don't impact their fishing and their tribal rights? And so we're very engaged with them at high levels of what they would like to see and how can we partner with them to move this project forward because they see the potential for
Absolutely.
it as well too, of bringing more people to the businesses they have, the people
Absolutely.
they have, the impact it's going to have for their community as well. So, you know, if Tacoma's the hottest market, it's growing.
It
how,
is.
How are you going to move these people around the Puget Sound?
How do we move
That's
around?
what we're all about, is trying to move people, give people more options to move around.
Okay, last minute. What's anything else we need to know as we close up this update?
The one other thing we're looking at, and we're very preliminary in our design, is how do we increase sounder service?
Yeah.
How do we provide, because our south sounder lines keep growing. People are continuing to use it. People taking it to get to Seattle. It's a great, I mean, I'm a sounder rider.
Me too.
I get on the train and I'm in downtown in 40 minutes. It's a great, don't have to
And
worry
it's
about
always
traffic
crowded.
congestion.
I mean, people love the sounder service, so that's in the preliminary work.
So we're really looking at that. We're doing some modeling. You know, there's a lot of anything we do has to be negotiated with BNSF because we don't own the
Absolutely.
tracks that
That's
Sounder
right.
runs on, and they're responsible for all the freight traffic and other passenger rail. So, you know, it's a negotiation process. But we're going to be out talking with people. What would you like to see, and where would you like to see it? Is it more trains during the day? Would you like to see trains on the weekends or evenings or middle part of the day? So we're doing some early work on that, but that's coming too.
And all that's on the website in terms of where we are with each project.
Yeah,
and
go to our website, look at our system expansion link. It's
Everything.
all there, and all the project pages are there.
Scott, thank you so much. Every time you are here, you bring more and more information, more good news, and more hope for the projects that are evolving as we live here. Thank you to you and your team. You people are off the hook. I look forward to having you back on the couch in 90 days.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Deal?
All right. Deal. All right. Thanks.
All right, when we come back, I'm going to be standing next to Chef Sean talking about lobster bomb. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.